Good morning, everybody, from a sunny Highbridge. My name's Jane Woods. I'm a village agent covering the Sedgemoor area. And as you're probably aware, there are a series of talking cafes that you can access through Facebook on a regular basis, and you can look back at previous ones. But getting on to today's, I'm hugely privileged to be joined by Deb Richardson of Somerset Film, who's here today to talk about the engine room in Bridgewater and about various other projects that Somerset Film are initiating at the moment and things that have been going on, and obviously all the changes. So first of all, if I can just ask a little bit about your background, Deb, and how you ended up being in the engine room.
Thanks, Jane. It's super to be here. Thank you so much for asking us. So in terms of the background for the organisation, so Somerset Film was set up in 1997, so nearly 25 years ago.
Wow.
With a kind of a mission to develop film and digital practice in the county. And it started out really bringing together all of the kind of the community of talent that were kind of already working in that area together. And it would run peripatetic projects. So it would go into a youth club in a village, or it would go into perhaps a tea time group for older members of the community. And it would basically pass on filmmaking skills to first-time filmmakers. And it was about reflecting Somerset. So at that time, we also made content for the then HTV in the days of regional television. You might remember them.
Yeah.
But also about reflecting Somerset life. Presenting the voice of local people, telling local stories. But of course, in those days, nearly 25 years ago, the software and all of the equipment was really expensive. Software could be £1,000 a copy. And if people couldn't afford to have that kind of technology, then the skills that we were passing on would dissipate. And so the idea for the engine room was born as a place where people could continue to access both the technology, but also the kind of advice and expertise and support that would be needed. And so the idea for the engine room was born. We looked around for a potential location, and Sedgemoor District Council were really helpful. They showed us a number of kind of potential properties, because our trustees were a registered charity, so we have a board of trustees. They were really they wanted to see this as a resource, but to go to a place where perhaps resources didn't normally kind of end up heading towards. In those days, a lot of resources ended up going to Taunton as kind of the county town. So we very much wanted to find a place, a high street location where people could just look through the window and be intrigued by what was going on, walk across the doorway, come in for a coffee, discover what was going on and get involved. And so we were offered the building that I'm in right now, which is in the High Street in Bridgewater. It's a former Robin Reliant showroom.
Right.
It's called the engine room at all, but it does explain why we've got these. It's an old Anderson War garage, and hence why.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Windows. Yeah.
You could have called it Del Boys, couldn't you?
Someone did push through a photograph through the door of the engine room with the Robin Reliant in the window, which was just
wow. So what kind of facilities have you got on site then?
So we've got the all-important cafe, which is kind of at the heart of everything, really. So people can just pop in for, a cake and vegetarian food. So we specialise in vegetarian food.
Fantastic, yeah.
We've got 2 studios one of which is licensed as a cinema. So we show
wow.
films. We tend not to show the kind of films that you might see at the fabulous Scott Cinema around the corner. We tend to show films that are probably connected with the themes that we're interested in, or that in some way represent the voices of communities that, you know, don't get to be heard. And those studios can also be turned into a TV studio.
Wow.
And then the upstairs, we've got two kind of office/edit suites that can act as the TV gallery for downstairs. And yes, so it's a base for the Seed team. They have an office here, and our ambition is to have a digital gallery. That's our long-term vision. So we've just finished. During the winter months, we were projecting onto those big glass windows. So we were projecting work that we've been making with communities over the last year. And we're just about to now, we've just put some screens in the windows as well. So
fantastic. You mentioned Seed briefly there. Are you happy just to say a little bit about them?
Yeah, so Seed is a fantastic project all about engaging people in the area of Sedgemoor in the arts and empowering them to take forward their creativity and to deliver more cultural activities in the area. It's a very much a partnership project. So it's led by Homes in Sedgemoor and Community Council for Somerset, Bridgewater Senior Citizens Forum, Young Somerset, Bridgewater Town Council, and ourselves, alongside the Community Council for Somerset. We're all kind of involved in making sure that it kind of stays on target and reaches the people that it really needs to reach. So
fantastic. Just to sort of to follow on from that, with regards to the information that's scrolling along the bottom there, you can go on the CCS website and find out more about Seed, but also the other places that Deb mentioned, and you can put in Seed as a search as well. There's loads and loads of information. God, I'm so interested. There's so many different directions I want to go off in, but I've just got to calm down a little bit. You talked about films that you've made for other people. Looking on your Facebook page, wow, it's well worth a visit. There's so much on there. It's absolutely fantastic. So what films do you make for others, and how do they get in touch with you? You know, sort of how do you form those partnerships?
Yeah, so sometimes it's just through conversations. You know, we might be in a meeting about something else entirely, and obviously, you know, film is such an effective medium for getting across a message. And so it might be that people just call us up and say, this is a film that we really need to make. Can you help us? So over the last year, we've just finished making 22 films for the Somerset Counselling Centre, for Weston College and for Gateshead College. And those films capture therapists exploring all different subjects to do with mental health. So that might be around anxiety, loneliness. It might be around anger issues, or it could be eating disorders or anxiety. And that has become a national resource for both teaching staff and for students at colleges. And it's on a website called Let's Chat. And it's the most fantastic resource. And we were so pleased to be able to be involved with that. It was a really fast turnaround, and obviously COVID and the lockdowns have certainly made film production more complicated, as it has, you know, lots of life for most people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was such a valuable resource to be able to create. And then earlier last year, we were also asked to help make a training film all around domestic abuse, which was one of those films where, you know, the timing of it being made, you know, because sadly, you know, when lockdown came in, we saw the rates of domestic abuse increase. And this is a really important film. Again, it's a training film, and it trains kind of contractors, those people who go in and provide support services for housing associations, to be able to recognise the possible signs of that might be going on. And as part of the making of that, we interviewed a number of survivors of domestic abuse, and they shared their stories with us so that we could weave that into the training, because, you know, those first-hand testimonies are really powerful.
Absolutely. It's interesting because you talked about the power of film. I notice, so I'm quite interested in the whole thing about advertising and how it affects people. There's been an awful lot of adverts recently, for instance, for an insurance company, and they're talking about employing people with disabilities. And it's not until the end that you realise it's an insurance company that they're talking about, and it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. They're having to become, you know, because again, as consumers, we're more sophisticated. So they have to become more sophisticated in how they effectively sell their products. And they're doing it through telling stories. You know?
Absolutely. So looking at specifics that you're doing, having looked at it, you talk about digital skills camps.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could let us know a little bit about that, and sort of if there's a cost to people, what the score is there.
Yeah, of course. So the digital skills camps, this was really a response again to the impacts of COVID on our community, and obviously we are seeing an increase in unemployment, unfortunately. So it was you know, and for many people, they might have worked in that job for a long time, so they might need to kind of retrain or look in a new direction. But this was also about giving them some digital skills so that they can profile themselves in the best possible way to potential employers. And it's supported by Petrock Community College, and it's supported by the EU, the European Social Fund. And so it's aimed at those who are aged 18 and over, who've been perhaps recently been made redundant or seeking employment. And again, it's to refresh those digital skills, because we've got two fantastic people working on it, Richard Tomlinson and Kate Saunders. And Kate Saunders is actually a team coach. So her work is very much about bringing people together, forming networks, so that you can get that kind of peer support as well. So we've got a really great team.
So how are you kind of able to advertise that that's available for people?
Yeah, so obviously we're trying to spread the word via social media. I'm hoping we're going to be doing some radio coverage as well soon. The DWP, the job coaches, they're all spreading the word about it too. It's on our website, so if you go to somersetfilm.com and click on the Get Involved page, you'll see more details there.
Fantastic. Again, just to say that we do have a limited number of smartphones available if people are looking for those, and on occasion we get laptops and tablets that are donated to us, and then we can give those out to people if they'd like to get in touch with us. So where are the digital skills camps? Are they all online at the moment, or will you be opening up your premises soon?
Yeah, we'll be opening our premises soon. So at the moment, we're just the cafe outside is open, but according to that kind of roadmap, and as long as everything keeps on track. So we've actually got a digital skills camp next week, which is actually online. But we've also got one in May and June, and those we're hoping will be face to face. But if they can't be face to face, then they'll be online.
Yeah.
You said, Jane, if people need support to be able to access the internet, or then yeah, there's lots of help kind of out there.
Yeah, because I noticed you do tech support sessions as well.
We do, yes, yeah. Again, because that was one of the first things that we introduced when the engine room opened in 2003. In those days, they were kind of drop-in sessions, but now they're very much bookable. And my colleague Dan Gale, who is multi-talented, much like Steve, who's your
in the background man. Yeah.
And yeah, so he's on hand to help people, and that might be, it might be from digitizing old photos, or maybe you've got your wedding on VHS and you wanna learn how to digitize that so you can have it on your computer, or it might be just as simple as, I know for a lot of older people, when the lockdowns first happened, families got them onto Zoom and they got them onto various platforms so they can stay in touch and all that sort of thing. But of course, all of that family support, everyone's gone back to work, or if it was like in my household, your 14-year-old, helping you do things, they've gone back to school. So it might be that you've got some questions around some of those things, and Dan's to help. So
that's fantastic. So I also noticed you've got projects advocating the employment of people with disabilities. Yes. I wondered if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so there is a fabulous local filmmaker called Phil Dyer, and I'm sure Phil won't mind me saying that he is an adult with learning disabilities, and he was involved in one of our projects many years ago, and he came along as a first-time filmmaker and then fell so much in love with the process of filmmaking, he decided that was it. He was going to be a filmmaker, and he's got his own film company called Trendbuster Films. And about 18 months ago, he was really passionate about employers giving an opportunity to people with a disability, because often they get overlooked. And so he made a fabulous documentary, which we were able to support him on, which was distributed by a number of kind of partner organisations, including the Somerset Education Business Partnership. Following from the success of that, he has now got this aspiration to not so much make a documentary, but make more of a kind of it's actually a comedy. So they have been working, so Alice, Nick, who are all people with disabilities, they have been working with a local scriptwriter called Richard Addison, and their aim is to develop a whole series of short films that will engage people on the subject, but in a very light-hearted way. So and in the hope that those will go viral and encourage more people to employ people with disabilities.
Well, I know Phil quite well, so if anybody's got the energy to do it, it's Phil, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. You also run quite a few networking events. Would you like to talk about a few of those? Yeah,
absolutely. So we have 2 monthly networking events at the moment, both of which are currently online. The first is the Creative Network, which is part of our Arts Council funded programme of work, which is about passing on digital skills to artists and audiences alike. And the Creative Network each month, it provides a platform for an artist to talk about their work and their process. And again, that's hosted by my colleague Richard Tomlinson. But it also provides that opportunity for artists to find out what's going on locally, about the range of work that's being made, and we hope to be that kind of platform for collaboration and for working together and just encourage people to make more creative work, really. And then
Absolutely.
the second networking event is called Junction, and that's for filmmakers and film lovers. And it's an opportunity for local filmmakers to show either an extract of their work if it's a long film, or ideally all of it if it's a short film, and so that work can be seen more widely, but also it gives people an opportunity to just talk through some of the processes and the inspiration behind the work, and to learn about things like, how to get that work seen, and again that thing of meeting like-minded people, and it kind of being that like the blue touch paper moment, and hopefully that be inspired to make more work together.
Yeah, I have to say that having looked at your Facebook page, and it really made me excited to thinking about people that you can bring together who might not sort of traditionally think that they had these particular skills, but so many people have got an eye for these things, and it's actually a platform to do something about it and give it a go, which is hugely encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course technology has advanced. I mean, I mentioned
absolutely
earlier how expensive technology was, and it's still, it still is, but if you've got a phone these days, it comes with a camera in it, so that potential to take a photograph or capture video, it's all there, really.
They are amazing bits of kit, aren't they? I noticed that the BFI Film Club is going to be in Minehead. I didn't make a note of the date, but it is actually on your Facebook page, so people can look at that. And I know that we cover the whole of Somerset, and obviously we've got colleagues in West Somerset who may be particularly interested in that. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So it's supported and initiated by the British Film Institute, and it's a really fantastic opportunity for those aged 12 to 15 to come and learn more about filmmaking. It's 7 days of activity, and they will make a film, and then at the end we'll be screening that film on the big screen at the Regal Theatre, alongside a feature film. It'll be led by professional filmmakers, and there'll also be masterclasses, and I'm hoping that one of our previous masterclasses, Nick Audley, who was the editor for one of the Harry Potter films, I'm hoping he's going to be one of our guest speakers on that too. But they'll learn. It actually follows a French program of filmmaking, and it's the most wonderful resource, and we're absolutely delighted to be able to bring all of that activity to West Somerset. Obviously it is for young people who live in West Somerset, and it's very much a part of addressing some of the issues in West Somerset around aspiration and isolation, because obviously the area came the bottom of the social mobility index, but as we know, it's the most beautiful location. The potential for telling stories in that location is huge. There's also an awful lot of talent, living locally, and resources like the Minehead Eye, and the Onion Collectives contains art. We know there's that sort of bedrock of talent over there. So the thing about using technology and telling stories, these are all transferable skills. So whatever careers those young people end up going into, what they learn on the BFI Film Club will really set them up for life, I think.
That's absolutely fantastic. It's so exciting, and again, reading about it just looks absolutely fantastic, and the program you got set up, incredible. I know as well that you've got a deep commitment to environmental issues. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's So in 2019, we declared a climate emergency. I mean, we've been, I think, although, you know, we're a digital organisation, but we've been environmentally conscious for quite a long time. We're very lucky to have on our board of trustees Andrew Buchanan, who co-wrote a guide for sustainable filmmaking many years ago, and a number of our trustees have backgrounds in wildlife documentary making. So, you know, their connection with the environment and their understanding of it is really deep. We've also been monitoring our carbon footprint for a number of years now, so we kind of have that data. But it, you know, we you know, as Greta says, our house is on fire. It is an emergency, and we've seen in COVID how quickly we can respond when we know, when we understand that emergency. So as well as kind of trying to take action ourselves, we use our programme of work to try and explore it, to use it as a platform for discussion. So we've shown a number of films on the subject, but we've also tried to introduce activities. So we showed the film, and the name of it's going to go immediately out of my head.
You'll remember at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I will. But it was about fast fashion, and it was about our shopping habits and the impact that is having on the world. And so we showed that film, used it as a platform for discussion, and then the next day we had a clothes shop, a swap here at the engine room, where people brought clothes that they no longer wanted but swapped it with other people. So and it has long been my ambition to also have a seed swap, but during that COVID, it has now managed to scupper my plans around that twice now, but I'll get there eventually.
Hope you're not taking it personally.
No, I won't. And so, you know, and again, our cafe is vegetarian. We are trying to advocate eating less meat. We try to do it in all the ways that we possibly can, really. So everything from, you know, installing water butts to we've just raised some money for some energy efficient heating to go into the building. We've got a film coming up called Motherload, because the biggest part of our carbon footprint is the travel of our audiences. So one of the things that we wanted to look at just before COVID hit was about how we can encourage people to use public transport or to cycle or to walk to us. So we've got a film coming up called Motherload, which is all about cycling and exploring, you know, just the use of.
Well, I'd like to point out to you, Deb, that you said that COVID has scuppered you a couple of times, but they've also given you an amazing advertising opportunity, because the photographs of the Earth when the first lockdown happened with pollution clearing, I mean, there you go. There's the evidence. Yeah.
And, you know, and I just yesterday when I was walking through Apex Park, you know, it very much, the birds were just so active today, you know. And it reminded me of that first lockdown when we walked through our own local areas and we could hear the birds.
I know. It was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so people have reconnected, and also that reconnection with nature is really important for our mental health and our well-being, and we know that. And you know, even as a digital organisation, you know, this is a tool, and we need to not be kind of slaves to technology. We need to be creative with it, and we need to use it in the right way. That's
absolutely. Yeah. I agree. Just a little bit of a sidetrack. I mean, you talk about using that technology. What is your demographic at the moment? You know, the people who are using your facilities, and do you want to expand in any ways? Because obviously there are all sorts of links these days with, I don't know, care homes, and then you talk about nurseries. I mean, it's everybody.
Yeah, so very much in terms of our activity, we try to prioritize those who are, whether it's for financial reasons or geographic reasons or social reasons, are isolated. So that might be about activity with older people. During the lockdown, we raised additional money to be able to purchase tablets for adults with mental health issues.
Fantastic.
We worked with Mind and Heads Up in Wales to get those out to people in need. But what we made sure was that they had creative applications on them, and then we followed that up with activity. So we worked with the West Somerset Mind group, which is led by the fabulous Rachel Gundry, and facilitated some activity, and then that work we projected onto the building.
Wow.
We worked with schools. Obviously, children and young people, they very much gravitate towards games and to film and to that moving image, digital technology. Work with older people, as I say. Sometimes we might target particular communities. So, for example, we were invited to go to a community event over in Wells Cathedral. I'm going back now, probably 18 months, and the local community there were trying to really get people's views on the future of Wells in terms of its high street and the city, and they wanted us to go to to have a stall at a kind of an information.
Yeah.
And so we said to them, well, yeah, we can come and we can have a stand and we can put our leaflets out, but really we'd like to make something, and bring it to that event. That time they had been trying to do a survey with members of the community. And so I said, well, are there any, sort of sections of your community that you've not engaged with as much as you would have liked to have done? And they identified young people, and they identified the very vulnerable elderly. So what we did was we went and worked with the Dementia Day Centre in Wales. And we took archive film, and we then used that as a prompt for a conversation afterwards. So we showed them a range of archive film, everything from kind of the 1930s onwards, local archive. And we then recorded conversations with them afterwards, and we just asked 5 simple questions, and things like, what do you like about Wells? If somebody came for the very first time, where would you take them? That just 5 really simple questions. And we did a similar thing with Wells Youth Centre. So we went for on their kind of Friday night, and took a different activity each week, but also engaged those young people and asked those same questions. And we also ran an activity that was open to the whole community at the Wells Museum, which was about recording the sounds of Wells. So we went out and recorded the bells, and we recorded the market and all of those sounds. And then we brought all of that together to create a sound installation, which we then put into the Lady Chapel in Wells Cathedral as part
Fantastic.
of it. And we're hoping to be involved later this year, because there's a project with very famous artists. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it, but there's a big project coming up.
I thought you were going to spill the beans, and I thought we'd got a scoop.
I just realised, I don't know, am I allowed to say anything? Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, very famous artist coming to install a piece of work, we're hoping, at Wales Cathedral. And then we're hoping to work with the community to create some work that could be presented alongside his work. So that's really, really exciting.
Wow. Absolutely fantastic. I noticed the Bridgewater Quayside is hopefully going to be happening outdoors this year, 9th and 10th of July, and obviously there's a lot of collaborative work there. And I noticed there was a wild beach installation that schools are working on.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you had an involvement with that?
So the Wild Beach project is a partnership between Somerset Wildlife Trust and Fuse Performance Company. So we're not directly involved in that aspect, but we will be playing a part in the Keysight Festival.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Each year we try and get involved. Of course, last year it was very much online.
Yeah.
And this year again we're trying to be as flexible as we can. And to stay fleet of foot so that we can respond to whatever the circumstances there at the time. We're very much exploring, because obviously one of the key concerns is to not have large groups of people to congregate in any one place. So it's very much about managing the flow of people through Bridgewater so that they explore the space, because it really is a beautiful town, full of heritage and full of character. So at the moment we're exploring the potential use of GPS and sound, so to create a trail through the town. And of course, Alan and John, who run the Keysight Festival, they've got a whole, there's lots and lots of things that are going to go on through the town. It'll be different, obviously, to how it's been in previous years, but it'll still be vibrant and colourful and,
fantastic
energy. So, and the sun always manages to shine as well. It's just,
it's fantastic. Yeah, very exciting. I mean, that's the thing. Bridgewater has got so much to offer, and organisations such as your own are just amazing. It's really good to have an opportunity to talk to you today. I could just talk to you all day, and I may well do that offline, and perhaps we could have you back another time to talk about other specific projects.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. So, and just briefly, some of the things we've got coming up, we're launching a repair cafe, working with volunteers, so that you'll be able to bring an item, learn how to repair it again.
Oh, wow.
Of encouraging people to reuse, recycle, etc. We've got a games exhibition coming up, and we've just launched a digital gallery on our website, so you can go and explore some of the work that we've done with communities.
I saw that one about how games are more positive games rather than just shooting people and killing them. It's all about encouraging positive thought about stuff. So that looked really interesting too.
Yeah. And gaming has been enormous during lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we've got a big education project going on as well, taking performers into schools that represent our diverse communities. So there's lots going.
Again, that's a very vibrant scene in Bridgewater. Again, the diverse communities. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say a huge thank you, not only for being here today, but for all that you're doing for the community. It's absolutely fantastic. And like I say, hopefully we'll be able to get you back again and talk about more stuff, because we've just literally scratched the surface. If you want to have a look more on the Facebook page, but also on the your other website that you've got, there's so much information on there. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
A bit of an advert tomorrow. Somerset Waste Partnership is going to be the talking cafe and talking about recycling, for those of you who'd like to see that. But from myself, I'd like to say goodbye and thank you again, Deb. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.